So, welcome to lecture mini snippet part 2. And this is really meant to be a reflection to you about your own journey with your embodiment and your so called ascension, soul, enlightenment, discovery that there is more to life than the body, and I would say the ego centered living. So, in my experience and in the level of study that I've done in terms of spiritual traditions written by men based on techniques of meditation, there isn't a lot of space for dance. Besides Sufism, where there's a beautiful practice of throwing yourself into this trance state, besides lots of African traditions that I feel sprout from a time where matriarchy might have been more common as a form of societal organism in any sense. So, a lot of cultures of emphasizing the soul and the spirit are really focused on coming into stillness and going inwards and renouncing the outside world and renouncing the senses. So the female considered as the temptress is a very old tradition going back more than 2,000 years. So we can't just blame Christianity for it. I feel like this has happened way before. And one of the readings on that note might be Ohad Ezrahi's beautiful book on Kedesha, a love priestess in kind of ancient Judaism. Which also addresses the fact that there has been temple traditions and rites that have then been surpassed by the so-called, let's call it on a broad hand, the brotherhood. However, I don't want to be in denial that there isn't two sides to this coin and two sides to any spiritual practice. So I really invite you, and I want to begin with the meditation, so that the inner stillness and the inner alignment is there once we go into a more of a movement, a chaotic feminine expression of the dance and dancing the emotions, dancing the chakras, dancing in our archetypes. You need to be able to hold, or I need to be able to hold this presence, a very sword-like consciousness that no matter what, I'm going to pierce through into the truth of this moment and constantly also beckon myself to go deeper so that I don't get lost. So there is this vertical alignment that comes with the stillness and the sitting in meditation postures. And then there is this beautiful horizontal emanation of our beings that activates through the movement of the body. So I see it really as the frequency that fluctuates everywhere around us at all times. And often, if you already reflect this into a space of giving sessions in whatever form, someone coming to you, you are that vertical polarity to begin with. Even if they come to you for the feminine, even if they come to you as a reflection of the sensuality and the eroticism, but to be able to hold them in where they're at and to almost offer that hand to reach out and say, I feel you and I want to feel you. And it's okay because I'm holding point and I've been through this. And then welcoming their expression of the chaotic in. So in a lot of ways, I've noticed through working on the sexuality piece with a lot of people that for men especially to open up to their emotional bodies is going to require the woman to really be able to hold themselves. There's so much fear around the raging feminine, both in women and in men, that once we start to hone in on our aggression in a way that actually empowers us and it doesn't spew out into people's faces, empowers us to be powerful without being intimidating and sharp and vengeful. And this is part of opening larger in terms of holding even your enemy, even your opponent, in a loving embrace. So I'm going to offer this as this miniature lecture, and then we're going to dance the rage. We're going to dance and move with anger and really start to bring it out and to cultivate it. But instead of using it as a lash towards someone's expression of themselves, either online or in person, I invite us to turn that into the vertical current so that we become a flaming sword. And once that flame is activated and it burns enough of the dirt away, and the dirt being everything that's our personal triggers and that feels small in our hearts in terms of the excuse and the story and whatever the narrative is. Once we burn that away, we arrive at kind of the seed of the truth of why you are upset. And I'd love that to happen, especially as we enter into a state where we might have to call our politicians out. We might have to call out a whole entire generation of decision makers. And instead of doing that from a rage that we personally have been hurt by, I'd love us to do it with love, fierceness, courage, just to again embrace whoever's in the position of done wrong or needs to be called out. Embrace them and say, it's enough now. Once you state the truth from that place with a flaming sword, I feel like it carries across miles and miles. So yeah, I'm gonna combine this with the practical down below, really based on release. We're using a lot of emotional release, and now we're going to use emotional cultivation. So instead of just spewing energy out, I want us to start working with how are we going to harness that within us and ignite our sword, and yet burn away the residue, the dirt that doesn't serve and doesn't carry the message through. So I want you to get angry this week. See how that feels.